Can Newcastle United do the unthinkable and come back from a 2-0 deficit versus City at the Etihad? Find out right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Shea, and now Murphy can take on the shot. Fabian Shea
All right, folks. How are you all doing? I hope you guys are blessed, and I hope you guys are absolutely having a fantastic start to the week. Let me know in the chats and the comments where you are listening from and what you are doing, whether you're on your way to work, come back from work, whatever it is that you're up to. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you chose to be right here with me, and God bless you for that, folks. And I am looking forward to tonight's show. We are going to be doing a match preview for the City game. Just before that, we will do a reaction to the Liverpool game. But we will also touch on a few other things. We're going to talk a little bit about Jamal Lascelles, 12 years of serving at the club, and as obviously on the last day of the window, he has gone off to Leicester City. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to touch on a little bit on our transfer window. I almost said, how do what do you think about it? Do you think we've got the right players? Remembering that we haven't bought any players. So how do you all feel about that? Essentially. So, guys, as always, folks, welcome to the show. Please do remember to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know if you watched the Arsenal-Chelsea game. I did. We now know who's going to be in the League Cup final, and that is indeed Arsenal after their 1-0 victory over Chelsea. I think they scored somewhere in the 97th, 98th minute, something along those lines, through Kai Havertz. And they're in the League Cup final. The League Cup final is going to be played on March the 22nd, from what I can remember. And essentially all they're doing now is waiting for their next opponent from our game, from Newcastle United versus City. And obviously that's going to be happening tomorrow. By the way, good evening and God bless to Adrian Pickett, who's in the chat. Evening all, he says, evening to you, sir. So Arsenal are the next team we are facing. 1-0 victory over Chelsea. What do you guys think? Do you think we'll reach that far? We're going to be talking about that in a moment. But before that, let me find where I am. I do want to catch up on some other news in relation to the window itself. Let me see if I can get I'm using this because I'm using this on I typically use it on a different browser, so I'm a bit what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a little bit just finding myself around, but hopefully we'll get to where I want to get to, because I do want to talk about this man, Jamal Lascelles. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can. Adrian says Chelsea didn't have a J7 or BDB to rough up Arsenal up a bit. But they did have, you know what? I won't lie to you, Adrian. I was looking at João Pedro, and he was having he was one of the Chelsea players that had one of the better performances. And I was thinking, man, he'll be so good for us. If this man played for Newcastle United, for sure will be higher up the table. try not to think about it too much. You know, we're gonna touch on transfers in the moment, but man, it would have been good to have Mr. João Pedro playing for us. The way the ball sticks to his feet, his hold-up play, you know, he can lead the line, he can drop in, he involves others in the play, he can run in behind. He's just a really good player, really, really good forward, a real Eddie Howe player, to be honest. So it's a shame that we couldn't get him across the line. But one player we did get across the line 12 years ago, a young 20-year-old from Nottingham Forest, who initially got the loan to buy. We bought him and then loaned him back to Nottingham Forest. Jamal Lascelles, and Jamal has bid farewell to us. Obviously, this is confirmed today. Leicester have won the race for the 32-year-old with a medical schedule, which has now been done. He's had over 250 appearances for us, and he's for sure been with us in some of our very, very darkest hours. And you guys will remember his, to say outburst is going to make it sound like it's childish. It's not even that. His rallying call really about nobody caring, and that was before we got relegated. And he kind of really voiced the opinions of all of us fans right then and there. And then he went down to the Championship with us, where he was him and Clark, Kieran Clark, who were our, you know, pillars in defense and helped bring us up the second time. And, you know, he's seen a lot now. He's seen takeovers, he's seen relegation, he's seen Champions League, he's played against Mbappe, he's played against about, you know, he's been everywhere for Newcastle United. He's seen everything. If he ever was to write a book about his time at Newcastle, I think I'll definitely be interested in buying it for sure. But yeah, man, big up to him. I got to see him play a couple times actually. And one time outside Crystal Palace, took a photo outside Selhurst Park with him and Rafa Benitez actually. Good people, man. He's absolutely massive as well. Like when you see him in person as well, I did tell him like, "But I big up to you, you know, Lascelles, like holding the club up." I remember saying that to him, like, and like he definitely was doing that for us in the Championship, like. But yeah, man, credit to him, man. Incredible professional. I get the part about obviously he hasn't played much for us in the last couple of seasons, but that's because obviously we've been growing as a team, growing as a club. But you know, unlike some football players who've played for us, he didn't go into Instagram, he didn't go into social media and badmouth the club and put us in disrepute. He continued to serve us and to do it quietly and with integrity in the background. So God bless Jamal Lascelles and big up to him for all of his service for Newcastle United. Do let me know, guys, in the chat if you have any thoughts on Jamal, any kind of favorite memories of him as a Newcastle United player. I would be keen to hear from you. The next bit I want to talk about before we actually do the match reaction to the Liverpool game, and then we'll head off to the preview for the Arsenal game. Let me see, have I got it on the screen? Let me just double check it. You guys can see on the screen. Transfer window. The January transfer window. Now, just to let you know, in the Thursday show, I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna be a little bit more detailed about the state of the squad where it is now. And I'm gonna kind of map out the second half of the season, and I'm gonna kind of review the earlier goals I had from the beginning of the season, and then with you guys and see where we are at with that. and what do you think? Where do you think we are in terms of going forward with those goals? I was hoping, and well, we'll see when we review it. I had an expectation, just to remind you of in terms of points, between 66 to 71 points. That is, if I'm honest, looking less and less likely at the moment, but we'll see. And semi-finals and finals in all domestic cup competitions, where we are in good shape for that, and getting into the next phase of the Champions League, which we're kind of halfway there, and God willing, we beat Karabakh, we would get into that second phase. Well, we are in, I don't know, we're in, what do you call it? We're in purgatory. I feel like we're in Champions League purgatory. Like, we're getting into the next part, but we're not quite into that, the proper part of it. So we're in the playoffs, right? So we'll do the playoffs, then we'll get into the second phase, and I'll count out that, we're kind of like in no man's land. Maybe that's the best way of putting it. The no man's land of Champions League. So we're going to be reviewing the goals, seeing when we're at, and reviewing it, matching it up to last seasons and stuff like that. So, and getting your take on that. But before all that, I wanted to do a little bit of conversation on our transfer window, or lack of it. But I thought it was important to do that before we kind of went into the details on the state of the squad. Adrian says, glad for Lascelles, he got to play Champions League. Exactly. A good pro and a good lad by all accounts. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree with that. Right. So, this is our January transfer window. We had 2 exits. Well, we had, I don't know what's happening with Antonita Cordero. It says end of loan 2025 at Westerlo. We know that he met like that situation got messed up, but I could have sworn he went to another Spanish club. Let me just double check. Yeah, he's gone to Cadiz for a loan there after it's all kind of messed up a bit with Westerlo and our loaning system. Apart from Minte, it hasn't gone well at all. And we've also I thought we sent Joe White on loan as well, but we sold a couple young players, I thought, but they're not on here. Yeah, it looks like we've sent Joe White out to Bradford. But apart from those 2 players who are literally the fringe of the fringe, we've had no incomings in terms of our first team. We haven't had any outgoings in terms of our first team either. That's despite the late, if I can find it, the late transfer buzz around Tonali, where it was being reported initially by, I think, Plattenberg and Nicola Shearer, that Tonali's agent was speaking to intermediaries linked to Arsenal, and a long-term deal for 2031 was on the table, with a huge salary to encourage Tonali to exit Newcastle United on the last day of the transfer window. Now, there was numerous counter reports, which I'm pretty sure were messages leaked from the Newcastle hierarchy to Ben Jacobs, to Keith from Keith Downer from Sky Sports News, and Luke Edwards from the Telegraph, stating that Newcastle have not received any official contact from Arsenal, and regardless, Tonali is not for sale. I think the emphasis is on official. Just before we kind of touch on the overall transfer window, let me know what you guys think about that in terms of the Tonali deal, or the Tonali rumors, if anything. Are you concerned that he has his head turned? Are we looking at another saga? Or is it just a slow news day? What's your thoughts on that? Adrian says, this is the first transfer window I can remember when I've had zero expectations. It didn't disappoint. Did we have zero expectations during like some of the Ashley years? Remember when we just bought Vernon and Anita in the summer transfer window after we qualified for Europe? That was crazy disappointing. But to be honest, we had expectations; they just wasn't fulfilled. But for me, in regards to the Tonali rumors, I would say this is what I think probably happened, and it's interesting because maybe it's a bit of because I think even Austin came out as well following that, saying that Tonali's agent had in fact talked to intermediaries involved to Arsenal, and then Tonali's agent came out and denied it. Now there's two views on that to say, well, of course he's going to deny it. He's not going to admit it that he's been, shopping around for his client in Tonali. But then I think, okay, well, if he doesn't say anything, the people are going to say, you see, he's not denying it. That means there must be some truth to it. So, Tonali's agent is in the position where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And at the same, but all that aside, I do think there's smoke and there's probably some fire to that. Probably a bit of truth. I don't think necessarily Tonali's pushing for an exit, but I think via his agent, he is letting big clubs know that, hey, should you come in with a big offer or a valuation that I think would be Newcastle's valuation, I don't know what that is, I would be interested in joining you. Would you be, so if you were to come in with a bid, my player is willing to join. I think there's that. If you don't come in with a bid, then it's fine. I'm not joining. I'll stay at Newcastle. So I think it's just probably as simple as that. So we'll see what happens. The other thing I am less concerned about is it turning into a saga. And the big reason for that, and we've actually mentioned this ages ago, but I'm glad that the I newspaper has talked about it today through Mark Douglas, and they mentioned it in this sentence. Let me get this up. But I did mention that I have been saying it for a while now, but it's good to hear. It's good to have it kind of said in words as well, which is, can you guys see that? Let me make sure you guys can see that. Obviously, this time a picture of Tonali on there. Hold on, can you guys see that? Yeah, so let me just zoom in on it. And the key sentence here is, internally, zero panic about signing players. But next line after that, this should be the first summer with the DOF, Director of Football, and CEO in tow together. And I'll include Eddie Howe and the manager. We'll see what PIF are made of. And this is the first time since the takeover. And I think this would be the 5th year of the takeover. It would be like the 9th window with the owners, and it'll be the first time we have the DOF, the CEO, the manager, Everstein, Eddie Howe, all together. So this time we're going to see what Newcastle are really made of in terms of the transfer window itself. And relating that to Tonali is, Eddie Howe said in the press conference as well, he spoke to Tonali yesterday. Tonali's focused on the City job, on the facing City and Newcastle. But I think with the sporting director and Eddie Howe, they will know where they stand with Tonali and his agent. And like I said, I think Tonali's focused on Newcastle for this season. For this summer, I think all bets are on. And I think, and I think, and that's no pun on Tonali, but I think that Wilson will be doing all he can, essentially, hopefully to get Tonali to stay, but also to have a plan B and C in terms of should he leave, and be speaking with increasingly more and more interested clubs, interested parties. Who'll all be looking for some sort of valuation going forward. Like, I do not expect this to be. I really hope and I expect that this won't be a this won't be the drama that we had of Isak, him disappearing, us having to send bounty hunters to find him, all the other stuff. I'm really hoping. I do not expect all that to happen. I'm hoping that if there is a deal to be done, whether he stays or he goes, it can be done fairly swiftly. Eddie Howe and his recruitment team will have ready-made replacements. PIF will have the money. The CEO would have organized that money, because we know that there's been some issues around you getting authorization as quick as possible for signings and stuff like that. That's what the CEO is there for, to get that authorization from signings. The sporting director is therefore to coordinating, between the CEO, the manager, the recruitment team, the players, it kind of given the state of play of where everything is at, so everybody's aware. This is way before the transfer window. Saying that, look, this is the state of play. Tonali's going to stay or Tonali's going to go. If he is going to go, he understands that we want X and Y valuation. He's not going to kick up a fuss if this valuation isn't met. If the valuation is met by any number of these clubs, then essentially, please do open the doors for that to happen. Eddie Howe will say, okay, fine, we have these 2-3 candidates that we want to take over in priority. Wilson will be doing his due diligence and getting valuations for them, speaking to the player, to the agents, and seeing, where they're at in terms of possibly going. And hopefully we can get those replacements before we sell Tonali, get our money for Tonali, and we move on very, very quickly. That is my hope, if that is to happen. The ideal situation is Tonali stays, right? Because I think he's an exceptional player, and it's not easy to get replacements for him. And even in this pictures, you can see, that's what I hope happens. Either he stays or he goes. In any of those things, that things go really, really quickly. Same thing for Tino Livramento. We know that City are heavily, heavily linked to him. Same thing I said for Tonali. Please, 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 can we get their situations sorted out as swiftly, as quickly as possible, without the drama? Please, please, please. That would be what I like. And again, my main thing is that I want both of them to stay. Like, it would be annoying for me either way if they were to go, honestly. So, but we've got our my point is that we've got our CEO, we've got our director of football, we've got our manager for the first time going into the summer. We've had them in the January transfer window, going into this summer. I'm hoping and I'm expecting for us not to have the drama that we had in the previous summer going into this new summer itself. And the fourth thing I forgot to add was we've got the money and we've got the PIS, goodness gracious, PSR financial headroom. And I forgot how much it was. If anyone remembers what I talked about last time, but I'll talk about that again soon, probably tomorrow, probably on Thursday, to be able to make these deals. So everything, all our ducks are in a row. We've got the financial muscle, we've got the PSR headroom, we've got the DOF, we've got the CEO, we've got the manager, we've got the recruitment team. Like, everything is there. So if we look, if we get the same drama that we had last summer, I'm lost for words at this at that point. And when opposition fans and rivals and say, you're a mess, you're a joke, like I'll have very little to come back with at that point. So, but I don't think that will happen. So let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. James Ansel, big up to you and God bless you. Says, Tactics. What's going on, James? How are you doing, sir? He says, Voldemort the link saying that we could sell him this summer. I would call complete BS because you're not going to at least give him 2 seasons worth for a European player. Where does it say that? I didn't know that there was a link for his sale. So let me, if you have the source, do let me know. Let me just do a quick search. Linked to transfer. Have a quick search. Yeah, I don't see anything straight away, but yeah. Let me know if you have the link. But like you, I'll be surprised. I'll be very, very surprised if that was the case. Like you said, we do give players a little while, and if he wants to stay, Eddie Howe isn't the type of manager to really, kick players out or anything like that. I don't see it happening. James says 12 goals and assists. There's no reason to sell him at the moment. Either do I. I think these things happen. People, some media outlets, some journalists know that a player or a manager are going for a down period. If they win a game, they say, there's rumors of a new contract. If they lose a game, there's rumors, that the hierarchy are looking to sell the manager or sell the player and sack the manager, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll be surprised if he leaves. Raymond Kangumba, God bless you, sir. Hi, Philip. Toon TV, no Bruno Guimarães in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Yeah, that's a big loss. Huge loss. We're going to talk about that. Eddie Howe sacked from Newcastle United now. And Conte appointment as the manager of Newcastle now from Ray. Is that news that you've heard, Ray, or is that something that you would like to happen? It sounds like that's something that you want to see Eddie Howe sacked, and you want Antonio Conte to take over. Let me know why you want Eddie Howe sacked, and let me know why you want, out of all the managers, why you want to choose Conte. Do let me know. I'll be curious to know. All right, so going back to the overall state of our transfer window, or the lack of it. Essentially, we have not brought in any players. It's been, in the past, literally, 2.5 seasons or 4 transfer windows, we've had 3, no, out of the last 5 transfer windows now, we've had 3 where we've brought in no first team. No, we had 4 now where we've brought in no first team players, including this winter transfer window. The previous summer, obviously, we did spend, but the 3 transfer windows before that, we didn't buy a first team player. The only player we bought was a Sulla, who's a French player. So essentially, we've had 4 out of 5 windows where we've bought no first team players or no players at all, like this window. At the beginning of this transfer window, January transfer window, we did, talk about potential incomings, goings. I for certainly was very cautious about it. I thought there would be limited business, if any. I was getting a little bit more excited or curious that there might be, you know, as the rumors build up, but they quickly faded away. So all in all, probably not surprised that this transfer window has come and gone as it had done, because we probably we have expected it to be that way. Now, the previous transfer windows before this one, the ones where we had 3 no shows, you know, a big part of that was we were trying to get back in line with PSR. And you guys would have seen me do the show after this summer transfer window that, yes, we spent like, how much did we spend? Let me show you. We spent money. We spent between 2 to 50. Let me try and see. We spent like 250 million, I think. The transfer window just gone. Yeah, so we had, gosh, adverts everywhere. So yeah, we spent this is about 278 million euros. I can't see if that means, so it's about 250 million pounds. And then we sold around 176 million euros, which is around what, 186 million euros, which is about 160, 170 million pounds. And we did all the maths for that, and it put us in a very, very good financial area, especially PSR, where I think we've got a lot of money to spend. Now, I know Eddie in his press conferences is talking a lot about PSR and it hindering us. I don't think he necessarily means, but he's been intentionally coy about it. He doesn't mean that, hey, we're in trouble, we really need to sell players before we buy any players. And he's not actually saying that. I think what he's saying is essentially that they're keeping their powder dry and they're having to be very, very disciplined. I think they're anticipating a huge, huge summer, and they didn't want to. And I think that he was honest from the beginning that they were only going to buy players that were always their long-term targets. If those players were available, I think Newcastle would have bought them. I think I have said, and I'll probably correct myself, but Newcastle can, in my opinion, Newcastle can spend about 200 million plus without having to sell, in my opinion. And then after that, if for them to maintain like 150 or plus million pound spend every transfer window, for instance, they need to sell between 20 to 30 million pound in players, which is a good financial PSR position to be in. I was thinking about it the other day, and this is about me like sitting down and calculating. This is just me thinking to myself that I expect this summer Newcastle to spend between 250 to 300 million. Partly because I do anticipate us selling 1 or 2 of our first team players, and having to replace those at the same time to continue to build the squad and to not only raise the floor, but buy future players and buy replacement players, and to build even a more robust, a more in-depth squad than before. So this is just early kind of estimates for myself that I think that's what's going to happen. So I do see big money spent, and I see probably big money made in terms of transfers for Newcastle as well. And relating back to this winter transfer window probably explains why we haven't spent much. But the overall state of the squad, could we do with more depth? Of course we could. We absolutely could. So could, I would never say, hey, we don't need to buy anybody. There's not many teams that can say that, unless you're probably Arsenal. And we're going to go into it in the next program on Thursday to see what the state of the team is. do we have enough to get us, to help us get to have a good return in our season? That's the part that we've got to find out. That's the part where we're kind of like, we're gonna have to see. It's a wait and see on that one, really. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. I'm gonna go to the chat in a moment. I wanted to see the squad by position before I was talking about it, just have a rough kind of view on it before we did it. So, we've got 4 goalkeepers, with Aaron Ramsdale and Nick Pope as number 1s and 2s. If we just look at assessing our squad at the moment, we've got 4 centre-backs, Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, Sven Botman, Malik Chow. We're still waiting for Fabian Schär to come back. I think that's a March return, something along those lines. So we're lacking a bit of, we're one centre-back for sure. We've got kind of like 4. We've got 2 main left backs in Lewis Hall and Alex Murphy, but I don't count Alex Murphy. He doesn't even get squad time. I think he's played 5 minutes overall this season. So God bless Alex Murphy, but essentially we've got 1 senior centre back with Tino Livramento, who's now injured, and Dan Burn as secondary left back. So there is a lack of depth there. We do have 2 senior right backs in Livramento, who's injured, and Kieran Trippier. We did have Emil Kraft there, but he's injured as well. And his contract's going to run out, and he's like 34, 35 years old. But we also have a secondary right back in Lewis Miley, right back now as well. So we're lacking a bit of depth there, but not as much as the left back area. We've got 6 CMs. I think that's probably one of our healthier positions as well in terms of depth and quality. We've got 2 left wingers. Again, good depth and good quality. Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes. We've got 2 right wingers in Jacob Murphy and Anthony Langer. Good depth. Some people question the quality. I think we will see in time. And we've got 3 centre forwards in Nick Voltemada, Johan Wissa, and William Usola. Our forwards are currently underperforming, but we have depth, and at least on paper, we have quality. So we're going to break all that down a little bit later, but just from the sounds of that, from that kind of brief overview, do you guys think we missed the boat this January? Have we missed the boat? Should we have done more? Or do you think we're taking the risk that we're taking, short-term pain by not going into the transfer window this January, short-term pain for long-term gain is the better approach? Do let me know in the chat. Let me get my drink of water before I read the chat. All right, so James says, excuse me. Jeez, where's more water? James says, if we had to sack Eddie Howe, I think, Nagelsmann or Vincent Kompany, the only reason I'm saying this, they're 2 managers that we wouldn't need to change that much in the team setup for both managers that have won cups. So I remember only doing maybe like a brief look at Nagelsmann's like scouting profile. But James, do you mean like playing styles? Maybe because I look at Nagelsmann's. Do you mean like not the upgrade, but maybe the transfer from Eddie Howe to a Vincent Kompany and Nagelsmann, because their style of play is similar, it wouldn't be that much of a difference? If you mean that, I'll be interested to hear, because then I can research it. But yeah, me personally, I'm very, very happy with Eddie Howe. I do think he's an elite coach. I know that we're just like speculating, we're just talking, so it's nothing. I'm not saying you're saying Eddie Howe out or anything like that. But I just want to like emphasize, like, I think Eddie Howe's an elite manager. Hopefully he continues to prove that this year. But it's interesting to obviously to explore these type of situations as well. And to be honest, I don't know too much about Nagelsmann. I hear very good things about him. And you don't become German national coach at the age of 35, 36 for not being a good manager. So I anticipate that he's very good. James says Antonio Cordero, Cadiz. Yes, yeah, he went to Cadiz. He's been very successful there. 2 first team starts, 2 substitution starts, showing real promise. You sound like you're really following him as well. I don't know if you've seen any games. I'd be keen to know what you make of him. Do you think he can get into Newcastle's first team squad? James says I could probably count 5 sells that could happen. Willock, Kraft, Trippier, Elanga, Nick Pope, or return of Ramsdale, a proper young keeper. Do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if we take up the option to buy for Ramsdale. It sounds spooky, but I think it could happen. How many sales do I see happening? Let me and this is, let me actually look at the contracts as well, because I think that would help, because these are the positions, information, contract expires, isn't it expired or something like that? Where is it? Loan play history, transfer flows, record departures, rumors. There was something about where it said their contract expiries, because that helps a lot, because that gives you another agents and contracts, end of contracts. So I'll include that. I'll look at that. So yeah, Aaron Ramsdale obviously will come towards the end of his loan. We've got an option to buy on him. I would not be surprised if we take him up on this. Nick Pope is coming to the end of his contract. That's super interesting. I forgot about that. So Nick Pope is coming to the end of his contract. Fabian Schär's coming towards the end of his contract. This is this summer, by the way, 2026. Nick Pope, Fabian Schär, Kieran Trippier, Emil Kraft, Mark Gillespie. That's already, well, if you count Ramsdale, that's already 6 players just coming towards the end of their contracts, 2026. So that's 6 players, yeah? So just keep your minds on that. 2026, we've got 6 players who can go off on a free. 2027, the following year, so 1 year left starting this summer, we've got 3 players, Dan Burn, Jacob Murphy, and Joe Willock. We've got a lot of players to talk to. You know, I think Joe Willock's going to get sold. There's just too many rumors around him. Jacob Murphy's 30 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if we renew his contract for a couple of years. Let's see if he'd want to stay. Dan Burn, also at 33, I wouldn't be surprised if we renew his contract. But put it this way, 3 plus 6, we've got 9 players whose contract either runs out this coming summer or next coming summer, and we'll go into 2028, because this summer it will be 2 years, and obviously that's when players are vulnerable to being sold. That includes Sandro Tonali, though I don't think it's been updated, but his contract, he's got 3.5 years. So I think he runs out in 2029. So I'm going to take Tonali off this. Bruno Guimarães, he runs out in 2028. His contract has been discussed. Tino Livramento, lots of conversations around his transfer at the moment. 2028, he's been discussed. Harvey Barnes, 2028. He's 28 years old now. he's at the high. He's at a good age and profile of player that we can probably make our money back on. What do we do there? Joelinton, 2028. And Alex Murphy. Okay, fine, whatever. We'll include him in that. I think we'll sell him anyway. So this summer, we have 5 plus 3, 8 plus 6, 14. We have 14 players whose contracts run out between June this summer, and June 2028. 14 players. 14 players. And there was one more thing I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at age. If there's any, because that would be another factor. But just with that, 14 players, guys. And Bruno Guimarães is already 2020, is already 28. I think we still tried our best. You know, Harvey Barnes is 28. Joelinton is 29. Some big conversations are going to be had. Jacob Murphy is 30. Dan Burn is 33. I don't think we're going to renew anyone in 2026. Maybe Nick Pope is 33. And the rest, Kieran Trippier, Fabian Sharp. Fabian might get his contract renewed, to be honest. It's just because there's so many players. But there's 14 players, guys. 14 players. I wasn't even meant to get into a transfer conversation, but now that I'm talking about it, this is huge. This is huge. This is a lot of. There's a lot of big decisions to be made here. Huge decisions to be made here. I'm going to go to the chats in a moment, but just to add, you know, out of those 14 players who would want to keep, not anybody in 2026, who run out in 2026, who we're likely to keep. I don't think we're going to keep Joe Willock. Jacob Murphy, we're probably going to keep. Like say you really it's too much, because you can't sell 14 players and replace 14 players. So it's really difficult to say. But, you know, you definitely want to keep Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimarães. You know, out of everybody there, those are the key ones that you want to keep. There's probably a rating. Priority 1s, priority 2s, priority 3s, you know. But there's a lot of players that even if we say we don't care if, you know, Kieran Trippier go, or don't care, like, you know, it's time for Nick Pope or Fabian Shaw or Kieran Trippier. These are like 2 right backs, so we need to definitely another right back, a centre back. We don't even need another centre back, possibly a goalkeeper. We can't have 2 goalkeepers leaving, so I wouldn't be surprised either Ramsdale or Nick Pope will both get their, you know, either buy Ramsdale or renew Nick Pope. Do you know where I'm going? So, because this is why I'm saying I feel like we're going to be spending between 250 to 300 million this summer, depending on where conversations are at. And if you look at the 2027 lot, not even the 2027 lot, Jacob Murphy's going to be an interesting one, but I have a feeling that we keep him. Joe Willock's probably going to go, so we'll need another centre midfielder. We need another centre midfielder anyway. We're looking for that anyway. But if you're looking at 2028, I think Sandro Tonali's contract 2029, but Bruno, we definitely want to keep, but he's 28 years old as well. Tino Livramento want to keep, but big transfer moves around him. Harvey Barnes, what do you do? Joelinton, what do you do? 28, 29 years old, you renew their contracts and try to buy players that would challenge them in their positions. You know, you know, or, you know, does Sandro Tonali get sold? You don't, you know, people would say sell Barnes or sell Joelinton, but we're already talking about 5, 6 players. Like, it's a huge summer, guys. Really is a huge summer. There's got to be some serious conversations happening. So I'm glad that we've got a director at the moment. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know where you think we're heading in the situation. James says, and God bless, folks. Good to see 11 people in the chat. If you're enjoying the show and you like what you see, please do like, share, and subscribe. James says, probably sell move keeper for wages. Possibly, but I do think Eddie Howe likes Nick Pope. I think he likes Ramsdale as well, but he's going to choose between the 2 of them who's going to be number 1. I think it's likely to be Ramsdale, who's slightly younger. And I think we're going to try and box clever. This is what I think we'll do. I think we let Nick Pope go. We take up the option for Ramsdale, which would be about 15 million pounds, because we'd have spent about 5 million pounds on the loan already. He would have cost us 20 million overall. And then we probably buy like an unknown but young prospect from somewhere who in the next 2 to 3 years will be somebody. So I wouldn't be, be a player that would challenge. That's what I think would happen in the goalkeeping area in my belief as well. What I would like, if you were to ask me, is for us to buy a proper upgrade. I would get a proper upgrade. When people say, "Bro, that's a good keeper." I would have wanted to get a proper upgrade first team keeper. I don't think we'll go that route though. James says, yeah, they both play a version of 4-3-3. Okay, that's Nagelsmann and Vincent Kompany. Excuse me. They just play with an extra 10 instead of a 6 or an 8. Okay, that's interesting. That's super interesting. Especially Nagelsmann, I'm gonna look into him a little bit more. James says Shaw could get an extension though, just to give them proper in that ending. Then what's going on for the injury? How are you still pretty reliable at the moment? Yeah, exactly. I think they've got to assess it. Where he's at after March. Is he going to be fit, and what's his state and condition at his age? So those are big questions. But if you sell Shaw, that's another centre back you got to buy to replace him. When you might want to spend that money elsewhere. James says, I think at some point we do need to think about getting rid of Gillespie and Roddy. I think now in decent wages as well, but it would be nice to get rid of them. Yeah, I don't dispute that. I think the main reason we're keeping them on is the quota. Is it what is it? Is it the homegrown quota? Ruddy and Gillespie. I think the only reason we're keeping them is for the quota, and they know that anyway. So I'm not overly worried about them. I think I would be even less concerned about them if we were to have an outstanding goalkeeper at this rate. At the moment, we've got, when I say average, I'm not dragging them down. Literally, statistically, they're both average shot stoppers, right? And I would want above average, in my opinion. Okay, so we've got to look at that at the moment. We've got a massive summer ahead of us, guys. There's no other way of putting it. Do we have the team now as it is to get us, when I say over the line, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do we have a team now that is, for instance, in my perspective, that I want to finish between 66 to 71 points, semi-finals and finals for domestic competitions, and second phase of the Champions League? We're still in all 4 competitions, and we are going to talk about the City game just after we do the match review of the Liverpool game. And apologies, I haven't had the time to really look at it thoroughly, but I'm going to go off of what I saw as well as look at the stats. So I'm relying on you guys a lot. I don't typically like to do that the way I'm doing it at the moment, because I'm sure you guys get to do this, but when you get to watch the game back without the emotion, you get to really kind of delve into the individual performances. I think you have a better take of the game. So I'm really going to be relying on you guys as to what you guys think about it. Up to Alice got a different, they've got a different layout today. This is different to what they usually do. That's interesting. I haven't seen it laid out like that before. That is interesting. I've never seen it's a new layout. Sorry, I'm just getting myself used to this. Where is everything? So they've got Why is it like this? Where's distribution, attack, defense, discipline? Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. Then you got the pass map there. We'll look at it in a moment. All right, so we've got a new layout here. We've got a new layout here. So let me know what you guys' thoughts were on the Liverpool game. For me, it's two things. But before I say it, let me see what you guys are saying. James says, well, Solo has massive interest suggested. Yeah, that's another sale that could happen as well. Prices I've seen around 25 to 35 million. I wonder who's offering 35 million. That's a lot. We have a buyback clause, 30% sell clause. That's not bad at all. If we get a deal like that, I would take that. I would take that. But with the Liverpool game, two things for me that were disappointing. Or, no, two things for me that came from the game. Disappointing is the wrong word. Our forwards, in fact, if you look at, I'll get back to this. Let me go to SofaScore because I get to say a little bit more there. What did you guys think of the starting lineup? Let's start for that. Let me make sure you guys can see this. What do I want to get to? What am I saying? Let me get to the point. I'm trying to summarize it in my mind. The first point is around our forwards. Voltemada and Wissa both started at the bench and they both came on in the 73rd minute respectively. Jacob Murphy as well. Good to see him back, by the way. Voltemada and Wissa are struggling. And I think that's what's hindering our when I say performance, our performance in front of goal and in the front line. And that's what's hindering our results. When I say results, there isn't anything from me necessarily that's saying I was expecting us. Well, I did predict that we'd win. But what I'm saying is I'm not like, we're going into Anfield and we're favourites. When I say it's hindering our results is, and I haven't seen the data here, so I'll be interested to see what it reads. Probably won't be as much, but we're typically known for having tons of crosses, and actually we'll look at that. Tons of crosses, chances, and everything else. And we're seriously underperforming in our frontline areas. For those of you that were here on the channel last week, we did a comparison of our big chances overall, our accumulated big chances created over the season so far, big chances created and big chances missed of our season so far, and compared it to the total of last season, right? So we're like, what, 20, I can't remember, 25, 26 games in? No, yeah, something like that now. And we're compared it to the 38 games of last season. Compared to last season, in terms of our big chances missed, we were at 60% in terms of chances missed. So per every 10 big chances we created, we missed 6, scored 4, which wasn't bad at all. This season, we're at 70% missed chances. 70%. So out of every 10 big chances we create, we're missing 7. That's a lot. That's a lot, guys. And when we look at our I'm going to go back to the game in a moment, but when we look at our, would I find it here? Would I find it on FOTMob? Maybe FOTMob. I think it's FOTMob. When we look at our big chances created, we're currently 11th in the league as well. When we look at we're 12th for goals per match, so we're getting lower there. That's not good. Okay, attack. Our expected goals are slipping. We're down to 10th. We're 8th in the league for big chances created, 59. We're 6th in the league for big chances missed. That's 41. Right? So if I have my calculator, I do have my calculator. And like I said, so far, so that means, let me just go back to my calculator again. If we're looking at the percent, we are at, I went to pictures, 70% big chances missed. So we've created 59 big chances. Where is it? So yeah, 69.49. So 70% of our big chances are missed, right? If we were working at the same rate as last year, which was 60%, so what's 60% of 59? That's what we want to work out. What's 60% of 59? Let me see if I can remember my maths. We would have, I reckon my maths is wrong. But no, actually, we would have, instead of missing 41 big chances, we would have missed 35 big chances. And that makes a difference to our overall score. So I guess I'm saying all that to say this. I'm saying all that to say this. Our attack is and continues to be a massive worry. I'm going to go to the chat in a moment. I see a few folks have written in the chat. So let me get back into the game as well. So Worcester and Voldemar didn't start. We talked about previously, and we did a more in-depth view in terms of their lack of movement in the box, in particular Voldemar. With all the crosses we're putting in, with all the set pieces we're taking, open play chances are being created, we're missing more and more chances. If you look at our shot quality as well, it's below 0.10 particularly, which is frustrating. We're creating this overall attacking system, the structure of our attack. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's somewhere between top 8, top 6 in the league. But our finishing has got us, is like 10 and 11. And that's what's really, really hurting us at this moment in time. So I'm not surprised. I think Wiss is struggling with his fitness. Voldemort is struggling with just playing and acting like a forward that's got movement in the box. And that's what's really, really hurting him. So Gordon started, Barnes started, and Elanga started. I thought Gordon did really, really well in the goal that he scored, but also there were some movements he made, especially kind of going on the shoulder of the last man, creating opportunities just from his movement that reminded me almost of Isak at times. And it's what we've been missing from Voltemada. We've been missing from Wissa in particular as well. I really wanted him to hit the ground running. And that's the part of our game in particular that I think is suffering. I'm going to go into a little bit more before we do a little bit of a preview for the Man City game. But let me know what you guys' thoughts are on that Liverpool game. What's your overall thoughts, essentially? James says, to be honest, I did not expect us to, I did not expect to win as much to know we won in a cup. That was a different story. Yeah. Waste of a long way out. Waste of a long way out player quality to take on Liverpool at that moment. So you probably agree with the kind of the rotation. James says, I don't mind the front line. I know that it's been a big challenge. I'm really worried about Wissa more than Voldemort, because at least he was scoring at the start. Yeah, yeah. I'm worried about Wissa because I think we were, this is Voltemar's first season, like you're saying. Wissa's meant to be, he's literally our number 9. And if our number 9 is underperforming, we're all in trouble. James says, mid-game season struggling, but he gets back. Who's that? Wissa. Yeah, I think it's my Wissa. Big up to you, Michael. God bless you. Good to see you. It says, evening, Phil. Those contract stays are about worrying and concerning. Contract stays. You mean the state of the contract states? Sorry, I think you mean contract states. They are. They are. What's the word? I wouldn't say worrying. There's a lot of work to do. Like when I say there's a word for it, there's a lot of work to do. Put it that way. But Botman signed a new contract, for instance. Tonali signed a new contract, even though there's interest. They're trying to get Livramento to sign a new interest. Oh, I turned off my mic by accident. You should be able to hear me now. The green buttons are all working. The green buttons are all working. My mic is on blue. You should be able to hear me. Let me know, Adrian, James, or Michael, anybody listening, if you can hear me. I've got like a really sensitive on and off button on my mic. Let me know if you can hear me. 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 Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Yeah. No, I was just saying, not to say, I'm not worried or I am worried. I just know that we've got a lot to do. I have a little bit more expectation and confidence because we've got a sporting director, CEO, and we've got Eddie Howe this time, and we've got finances and PSR, lots of financial headroom. I say all that to say this. I'm hoping and I expect a more smoother transfer window. So yes, there's tons of contracts. There's players that are potentially exiting. There's players that are potentially coming in. But we've got a CEO who's in charge of securing the funding from PIF. And traditionally, and what we're always hearing in the background is that that's been quite slow. The CEO is in charge of securing that funding as quickly and as swiftly as possible. The sporting director is in charge of coordinating between the CEO, the manager, the recruitment team, players and agents of valuations, contracts, knowing where and how that money should be spent. The recruitment team, obviously, of Eddie Howe, who've always been functioning pretty well, will know who their targets are, where the priorities are. They should be able to go and identify those players, and Rob Wilson should have the confidence to go and make bids for those players or make contracts or new contracts, knowing that there's money on the table because the CEO has secured it from PIF. So what I'm saying is, I'm expecting and I'm hoping a much smoother. I'm really praying that we're not gonna have another Isak drama. Is what I'm hoping for. James says, I'm just going to say this now. We've either got to win the EFL Cup or the FA Cup to at least ensure we have European football. But I prefer for us they get up to 6th or 5th by the end of the season. Yeah, I totally understand it. I totally understand it, James. Michael says, I agree. When you look at it that way, Phil, with the DOF, etc. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to. On paper, when they say on paper, that's how it's supposed to work. So this is the first time since the takeover that we've had all of these like 4 or 5 elements together: a DOF, a CEO, a DOF, a manager with the recruitment team, the money, and the PSR financial headroom. All these are ducks are in a row. Like all these ducks are in a row this summer. So my expectation, my confidence, as cautious as it is for it to be, no matter who wants to leave, no matter who gets sold, who wants to renew their contract, who doesn't, my expectancy is the process of that to be, I don't want Tonali to leave, I don't want Liverpool to leave, but if they do, my expectancy is for that process to be done as swiftly as possible. We find replacements, we get the replacements, we sell the players, we get our money, we move on. We're not doing this drawn out saga. That's my hope anyway. So with the game, in terms of, like I said, my main concern is around our forwards. Liverpool had the more of the possession, as you would do at Anfield. They won, according to this stats, they won 56%. They had 56% success in their duel rate winning, compares to our 42. That's interesting to me. They won 68% of the aerial duels to our 31%. That's interesting as well. They got 7 out of 3 dribbles. So there's a lot of like dominant stats. I'll be really. I didn't feel like they won that many duels, but the stats say what the stats say. Obviously, the most important stats is the goals. They got 4 goals. We got 1. That's after we scored first, which typically has been not. I don't like saying that, but it's been the case so far this season where we've gone up ahead against teams and we've lost leads and we've lost points. I don't know how many points it is now at the moment. And I think we conceded them at bad times. We scored. 5 minutes later, we concede. Another 5 minutes later, we concede again. Going into it's terrible way of going. We're having to chase the game. Goals change games. Some people hate that saying because it sounds cheesy, but with our underperforming forwards, that's what's been a big, big problem for us. We had 8 shots we had 8 shots to their 17. They had 7 of those shots on target while we had 2, one of them being a goal. So, we didn't have as much creatively. What's interesting though, they've had more long passes compared to us, even though they had the more possession. So I think they were far more direct compared to us, which is interesting. They passing accuracy. Their passing accuracy in our half was at 79%. Our passing accuracy at their half was at 70%, so not too bad, but dropped off from what we usually do. We had 3 through balls compared to their 2. We had 54 final third entries compared to their 63, so it's not too bad there. We had 37 penalty area entries compared to their 33. So despite them having the majority of the possession and everything else, we entered their penalty area more than they entered ours. And this is the other part that we're talking about. So this stat, the penalty area stat, but when we're talking about our forwards and we're talking about the lack of movement in the penalty area, if we've made 37 entries in the penalty area, how have we only got 2 shots on target? Then you got a total open play crosses. We had 13 open play crosses to Liverpool's 9. So how have we only got 2 shots on target? It's lack of movement. We've got more open play crosses as the away team compared to the home team. Whilst Liverpool had, I don't know, was it 13 shots, 7 on target? So Liverpool have far more movement in the box compared to us. That's horrible. Overall crosses. So set pieces and crosses, right? Newcastle had 25 crosses to Liverpool 16. And anybody who follows the channel knows that if there's one thing you can count is Newcastle to have not only more crosses overall, set pieces and open play than the opposition team, whether it's home and away, but significantly more crosses into the box compared to the opposition. So how are we only getting 2 shots on target? So this is what I mean what I was saying earlier about our offensive structure. If our team, if any team is in the position where they're getting more crosses than the opposition, they're getting more open play crosses than the opposition. We've got 24, we're going to talk about it. We've got 24% accuracy compared to Liverpool's 25% accuracy in crosses. Crazy. So Liverpool have only got 1% higher accuracy than us, yet they're the ones that scored from, yet the ones that get more goals from crosses and cutbacks and everything else. It's lack of movement. It's lack of movement, guys. So if we're in a position where we're consistently getting crosses into the opposition, where we're long balling it less than Liverpool. Liverpool are playing a lot more direct than us. We're long balling it way more than they're long balling more than us. We're getting more crosses than them, and we're getting less shots on target. For me, it's the forward line. It's no longer, it's the approach play is fine. It's what happens at the end of those crosses that is absolutely shocking. Now, these are the passing maps. We've got a couple of minutes left. We won't talk about it for too long, but for those that haven't seen passing maps before, this is Liverpool's, right? Essentially, if you see the players here, these are the average positions of these players, but you can see the lines here. The thicker the lines, is the more frequency, indicates the more frequency of passes between those players. So you can see Mo Salah, this is throughout the game, between Mo Salah and Szoboszlai has been 19 passes in that game. 5 of those passes were from Salah to Szoboszlai. 14 of those passes were from Szoboszlai to Salah, which makes sense. They're going forward. So the thicker the lines, the more passing. So what indicates to you is the patterns of play. So you can see, for instance, the more thicker the lines are, especially around the Szoboszlai Salah area. Even though I didn't really feel like Szoboszlai was really connected, I'm looking for Wirtz, because Wirtz was connected to everybody. Wirtz and Ekitike, 7 passes between them all game. Yet Wirtz was able to supply what? 2? Ekitike twice? They only need to pass the ball to each other 7 times and they're still able to get goals and assists against us. But we don't have Wirtz and Ekitike, and their movement is very, very good. This is us, and you can see again from the thickness of the lines, the frequency here, we're attacking a lot more on the flanks. Now, Gordon, this is what I like to see when I'm always looking at our forwards, right? Remember, our forwards are Gordon, Elanga, and Barnes. Now, Gordon has 11 passes between him and Howe, 5 passes between him and Willock, and 12 passes between him and Tonali. So he was very much involved, a lot of the ball getting to him, to our forwards, essentially. Barnes, 12 passes between him and Howe again involved in supplying our forwards, as he usually is. There was 4 passes between him and Dan Burn, and 6 passes between Barnes and Willock. So again, our forwards are involved. And is that Elanga here? I think that Elanga's 20, right? I think Elanga is 20. 13 passes between Kieran Trippier and Elanga, 6 passes between Elanga and Ramsey. So again, our forwards are being supplied. We've got 25 crosses into Liverpool's penalty area. And if we look at the XG map, which is absolutely frightening, look at Liverpool's here on the left. In fact, I hope you guys can see this because I'm just talking away. Yeah, you can see it. Thank goodness for that. Barnes was unlucky. Yeah, it was just offside as well. You can see Liverpool's here. Again, remember, Liverpool have nearly twice as less crosses than us in this area. Yeah, look at their XG. It's at 2.28, 17 shots, 7 on target. So how have we, with 37 entries into their penalty area, 13 open play crosses, 25 crosses overall, including set pieces, 24% cross accuracy, and our XG is at 0.37. That is, and if you look at the shot quality here, if we just zoom in, there was the Gordon chance, 0.13, which is not bad. Could be better, but not even that. It's not bad. But you'll see here, all the other chances, Malik Chow, 0.045. Gordon, again, 0.029. That's the shot quality we're getting over. Malik Chow again, 0.018. Shots outside the box, 0.066 again. They're not even getting anywhere near. What you would like it to be is around 0.10, 0.11, 0.12, 0.13, like in and around there. It was only Gordon's goal that got us there, 0.13. And that's of 25 crosses. Our forward line has a lot of work to do. We're really, really lacking in movement. We need to improve very, very quickly, in my opinion. James says Liverpool match would be better. I think those 2 big chances from Ekitike and Wirtz would have been snapped up with Botman and Miley. Yeah, possible. But if our forwards mainly our defense have been doing their jobs, our forwards haven't. Michael says one of the 2 shots was a Barnes free kick. Oh, yeah, we hit the post, didn't we, as well? Yeah. He was, I forgot about that. Yeah. So there's that too. So yeah, my overall opinion is our forwards need to improve. They need to improve a lot. So all right, so let's talk about, let me see if I can let's do, no, I didn't get to, let's talk about the preview for the City game. Guys, send in your score predictions for the City game. How many of you believe we can get something from this game? Or what's your opinions? Give me a score line. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, you can. Beautiful. Let's set this up. Premier League. We'll do City first because they're the home team. So this would show City's game from against who is it? Against Tottenham. So yeah, I've still got some of the stuff to say from their build-ups, but Guardiola and Diaz are not fit, so I don't want to use them. No, it's not even working. It's not letting me. Let me do this again. Don't be annoying. Let me get City players up. I'll do, yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about some of their stuff in a moment. But send in your score predictions and let me know who you think starts for Newcastle. Let me know who you think starts for Newcastle. I would be keen to know. Let's put them a little bit higher. And they're set up in a 4-2-3-1. Oh, they had O'Reilly in the middle. Who's on City's bench? Who's available for them? They've got a few injuries. Reinders, I think, probably is there. Ake, Mamouche. They got a few players that I don't know who they are. I've got Heskey's son here. Oscar Bob has been sold. Phil Foden might start, to be fair. Nico Gonzalez might start as well. Doku's injured. That's interesting. I wonder who starts for them. Okay. I wonder who starts for them. Who do you think starts for Newcastle, guys? Do let me know in the chat. And send in your score predictions as well. So this is our squad that played against Liverpool. I think there'll be some changes. I was querying, I was thinking about if Eddie Howe is potentially thinking about starting Voldemort and Wisser again. I wonder if he's playing with that idea, if he's toying with that idea. Miley's not playing. We know that he's injured. Bruno is not going to be playing either. Have I got Voldemort? Okay, so I feel like whenever I'm trying to figure out who's likely to play for Newcastle, it's like playing whack-a-mole or kind of trying to figure out who's in the red zone of their fitness, plus who fits in tactically, and then not having too many rotations. And if we are to get something from this game, what's the best team? James says, I'll tell you my front line for me, we either go for Barnes or Gordon on the left. Probably at the moment with Voldemort the striker and Jacob Murphy on the right wing positions due to him most crosses in the box. Yeah, that's a good call, actually. Yeah, Lascelles does need to be removed, obviously. Big up to Lascelles also. Thanks for reminding me, James. 12 years at the club. Big up to him. All right, so what was interesting to me is I always look at how does the substitutions, and I think Gordon he typically plays 70 minutes in games, 70 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, because Howe, I think, obviously plays him a lot, so he has to rotate him a lot. But for the Liverpool game, he played 90 minutes, or the full 90 minutes. And that caused me to think whether, just like James said, whether either Barnes or Gordon play on the left, and does Gordon start on the bench? Is Gordon rotated out into the bench? So just based on that, really. But I might change my mind as we try to work through the through the tactics themselves and see who's most likely to play, who's not most likely to play. So Barnes, and who starts up front? Voltemada or Wissa is another one. Or is it Elanga on the right? I think James was saying Voltemada, there's a chance of that. And does Murphy start instead of who gives us the best chance is what it comes down to. Murphy start on the right. I think when it comes to movement and everything else, I think Wiss has got to start above Voltemada for me. For me, anyway. Miley's not available. Bruno's not available. Joelinton is not available. So the midfield choose themselves. I think, and people are probably going to strongly disagree with this, but I think Hall, there's a strong chance that Hall is rotated out and Burn goes into the left back position. I know it's going to scare people. It scares me, but we have to look after Hall. And Botman plays left back. Now, part of the reason for this is that I do think we might go free at the back. And we keep Trippier at right back for now. With Miley possibly coming in against Brentford to rotate with Trippier. I know people aren't going to like this. I don't like this, but I have a feeling that will happen. I prefer it to be Hall. In fact, this feels even blunt like this with Burn and Trippier as our fullbacks. I really want Hall to play. For the sake of this, I got Hall playing, but I can almost imagine that he might get rotated out. Let me know you guys' thoughts on this. Right, so from previously, we know that City use their fullbacks really, really well. Now, what the typical thing is, especially what happens is, you'll get City, and this is where have been the biggest complaints for City fans at the moment, is that their midfield gets too easily run through. But what's so clever about their fullbacks, especially in the build-up, I went a little bit too high there, is they have different ways they push up. They either push up really, really high to allow their forwards to invert a little bit with Haaland, Silva, or Cherky swapping over like this, and you're going to see rotations. O'Reilly's in the midfield area, which is probably down to their what do you call it? Down to their just injuries and everything else. But I think Nico Gonzalez probably plays, who is a midfielder. And don't know if he's on the bench or he plays for somebody else. So you might see. But what's clever about their fullbacks is that also when they're kind of coming out when they're doing the build-up, though, they stay kind of like within the half space of a half space, where they ask the question: if they're building out from out the back, where's the ball? Here we go. There's the ball. When they're building out from out the back, and they are going to build out from out the back, they're going to ask our fullbacks the question of how far do we follow them? And this is what I mean. So let's see if we can get this right. Haaland, Semenyo is going to be a big threat as well. We have to look out for him. Trippier versus Semenyo, that's going to be scary. That is going to be scary. Chow's going to have to watch that. That is going to be scary. That is going to be scary. So what their fullbacks are very, very clever at is here, Nunes and Nouri. What they're going to be asking is, if you're Trippier, how far do you follow Nouri? Because if you follow him too far, you expose the space at the back here. Let me hide this a minute. You expose the space in behind here, and you leave your fullback one-on-one. Now, Chow, you can trust him with most things, but it's still a very dangerous to be at. And with Haaland, who's really good at running across as well, you could have a Semenyo or Haaland running in the back of you like that. That's also a scary situation. I think that left side for City is going to be very, very interesting with Semenyo and Haaland. I think they're going to be very reliant on that side to get them results. I'm less worried about whether it's Silva on the right-hand side with Cherki and Silva, because they lack the pace. They lack the pace to really kind of come in behind and hurt. Nothing stops Haaland from going on the right-hand side, or Semenyo going on that right-hand side as well. But I think that is something to deal with, right? To think about. Tonali does a really good job also in helping us to screen our back line. So if we're talking about their fullback options, because if Trippier, for instance, like I said, if Trippier goes forward, Tonali also can slip in that back line or screen the back four. So if the ball goes out, it gets to Semenyo either through short passes or through just direct long ball, rather than just Chow in a one-on-one situation, you do have a little bit of an extra security blanket of Tonali there. So if for instance, Haaland makes this run in behind, for instance, and Botman can't reach him, you do have Tonali either screening or protecting in this type of situations as well, which allows Chow to actually be more aggressive in the press as well, rather than if he's by himself and he's waiting for support, he has to kind of stand off Semenyo a little bit, and then that's dangerous, because not only can Semenyo run with the ball himself and cause problems, should he turn around, he'll have a very mobile, very fast, powerful, strong Haaland moving in as well. And as much as I love Botman, he doesn't want to be in this situation here, because Haaland does have the pace on him, right? So that'll be dangerous. But if you've got Tonali coming to help with the screening, this helps a lot, right? So this left-hand side battle is going to be very, 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 very interesting. I do wonder if City stick with Nouri or they choose O'Reilly instead, because O'Reilly is a bit more athletic and strong, and does have the legs on Trippier. Well, both Nouri and Riley could have the legs on Trippier, which is the concern in itself. So Murphy is going to also have to be is going to be interesting to see how and where Trippier presses. If Trippier is and at what moments, right? So I think Tonali securing part in the screen is going to be important, because if we do that well, it allows Trippier to press forward. It allows Murphy to press forward. It allows Wissa to attack the goalkeeper a lot more, or at least block the pass to Kusanov or Gehi. I think the main thing, if you're, that's the other thing. If you're City, where's the ball? If you're City, Now, Kosanov's not bad on the ball. He's got pace, but the person that you want to have the ball is Gehi, right, on that left-hand side. I think what we're going to be targeting is, or trying to make sure, is that Gehi doesn't have the ball, because not only is Gehi able to actually himself able to he is press resistant himself and is able to drop the shoulder. They've adapted this. Even the ball's moving while I'm moving it here. He's able to drop the shoulder himself and get past the press, and then, you know, break the line, and then, you know, is able to, you know, spray the passes that way, or, you know, kind of run the ball himself and, you know, force the opposition backwards by making these type of runs. But also what he's really, really, really good at, and this is why it's important to stop Gehi, is these type. And let me see if I can actually show with the arrow. Would it let me do it here? Is these type of cross-field passes. I can't do it. Let me delete. Where's the bendy arrow? The curved arrow. That's the redo drawing. Dashed arrow. I can't find the bendy arrow. What's the dashed arrow? Sorry, I'm learning when I'm going. Okay, so it's like this, right? Brilliant. He's really good at these. Rubbish. You're gonna have to just imagine it's coming from Murphy instead. What he's really good at, what I'm trying to show he's good at, is these switch plays. These type of switch plays, which are absolutely dangerous. So if Haaland decides to change his mind, instead of having to battle it out of Tonali and Chow and Botman, and says, hey, maybe I'll get a little bit more joy on this right-hand side. Semenyo tucks in, gets over here. Maybe I'll go on this side instead and see if I can get any change from Hall. What Gehi is really good at is these cross-field passes. So stopping that is going to be very, very key. So I do wonder if Murphy plays, for instance, in this part, they have to get this press right. You know, how we do this press is going to be very, very key. But also Ramsey being involved in pressing Nico Gonzalez as well. So you might see also, if City really want to break out the press, you might see Rodri, Nico, all dropping in to try and add an extra reference point. But that leaves less on that leaves a little bit, you know, less up top that way. If Cherky and the like start dropping in, it allows Chow to be a bit more aggressive, or Tonali probably in this case, to be a little bit more aggressive and allow fullbacks to be a little bit more, comfortable, but have a little bit more security where you've got kind of a 3-versus-2 situation as well. So you're going to see City really being key to try and, try and play out the back. The other key for us is obviously to, like I mentioned earlier, to ensure that Gehi isn't able to do those cross-field balls. And so that's going to be, it's all going to come from that left-hand side as well. That's going to be important. Willock on Rodri, I imagine, would hold on Silva. Barnes between Nunes and Kosanov as well. Well, really, the interesting part is going to be is it going to be Hall and like this, or you're going to have, I don't think you're going to have Willock here. You hardly ever see Willock in these situations, but you don't want to expose Botman too much in these type of areas as well, but you do want the press to be right. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, there's going to be an emphasis on us to try and prevent the ball from going out to Gehi. So Worcester's able to block these areas. Barnes is somewhere between Kosanov and Nunes. So if you're Donnarumma, you either risk the ball in the center to Nico and Rodri, where hopefully Ramsey and Willock are alive to it, or you go for a crossfield pass to Silva, or hopefully Hall's on top of it, and Botman is stopping Haaland from getting on it. Or you're going to go for the miracle ball, where you get it over Barnes onto Nunes as well, which is going to be very, very difficult. So that's going to be one of the keys for City as well. But if they do that, they've got the pace and the power up front to get past us as well. And where they hurt us at St. James's Park was definitely in those flanks, down those flanks and in those areas as well. And I think the main threat for us is also going to be. So also from that press, but also we're going to be playing out the back as well. But one of our main threats is going to be down the flanks as well, and ourselves with the ball. So, and what we do with the ball and how quickly we move that ball around as well. And as you saw, if we're able to create 25 crosses in Anfield, we can do 25 crosses in Etihad. The problem is, and it has to be resolved by this game, is the movement in the box for those crosses. Right, so I'm just going to read the chat before. I hope my sound didn't go off. I was scared for a minute. Adrian says, excuse me, not sure Trips is up to it. Why not play Langa at right wing back? That's a good, you know, I'm with you on that, Adrian. The only thing is, I've never seen Howe do it. You're right, though. Like, you probably do want Elanga compared to Trippier, right? Just to match them for pace, because that helps a lot. But because I've never seen Howe do it, I've never ever seen Howe do it, I'll be surprised, guys. I wonder, and I haven't mentioned the Solar. But his movement is good, and he's always looking into getting behind. His only problem is that he likes to be a bit too physical, overly physical. So I wonder if Eddie Howe would consider him as well, if Howe was to decide to play up front. Yeah, James says as well, please, no Trippier. I'd rather let one of the youth players give it a go. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you, sir. God bless you. Great show. He says James says it might be the Egyptian player and another winger because they played the full-time versus Spurs. So Mamouche might join Haaland instead of Semenyo, for instance. Yeah. Semenyo, Haaland, and Oriol. That's a good call, actually, James. Played till full-time might change things for us. Actually, there's more that played till after the full night. Yeah, it was a big game for them. They expended a lot of energy in that game, and I wonder what it does psychologically for them. Our key, I have no doubt, guys, that we're going to create chances. What I hope, though, is us is what we need is movement in the box. What we're going to need is movement in the box. Kosanov is a very aggressive player, and he can be rash, and he can be out of position. He had to do a lot of last-ditch tackles for Chelsea against Spurs. What Spurs are really, really good at, and I wish I had more time to look at it, because we would have like a blueprint of what we wanted to do. But they substituted Ramos, their centre-back, and they put on Sarr. They put on an extra midfielder. And what that allowed them to do is to really kind of motor, what's the better way of putting it? It added extra legs into that midfield. It added extra legs into that midfield against Rodri, Sarr against Rodri, who's coming back from a long-term injury. He's 38, not 38, 20, 30, 31, something like that. He's old, right? And that pinned City back. They were really, really forced to kind of defend a lot, and the goals were they weren't able to stop the runs in behind. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Eddie Howe does in that type of scenario. And there's also the other thing that what Eddie can do is still play the five at the back. So maybe keep Burn and have Hall. So you take off Willock, add Burn like this. It allows a little bit more freedom for Tonali to push up in that case, but possibly as well. Though I doubt it. I think after seeing Spurs and just talking about Spurs, you're probably going to see, you probably want to see more players in the midfield area. Where's Willock as well, especially with his running power. I do think Willock's going to be very, very important in that situation. Rodri's a Ballon d'Or winner. There's no disrespect to him, but if he's having to run with Willock like this, I think Willock can cause damage. What I need to see is movement. Barnes, I'm not worried about. Wissa, Murphy, we need these type of movements from them, and even maybe Tonali sometimes making runs in behind. Cherky is not here to cover ground. I'm not worried about him. Silva's amazing, but he's old and he can only do so much. And what this allows us to do is leave Semenyo and Haaland a little bit more, or Mamouche, whether it's or Mamouche, and leave them a little bit more isolated. And hopefully just what that leaves is City having to do a lot more long balls. But we're going to have to really, really push in this game. And I think City are going to try and counter that. They are going to try and counter that any way they can. But it's going to be a midfield battle. We've got to get our press right. We've got to get our energy right. And we've got to get our movement in that box right. And we've got to take our chances. You would have remembered the miss that Wissa had in the early parts of the previous game. We've got to take our chances. If we score that first goal, it could be very, very, very interesting. I like the idea of having Elanga at the right back. The only reason I don't have him at right back in this situation is because I've never seen Eddie Howe do it. But I've also never seen Lewis Miley playing at right back. So that would be, I'm with you guys on this. Like, don't think I'm not. Like, I'm with you guys on this. I want to see this, right? There is also the possibility that he keeps Gordon and has Barnes on the right-hand side. Gordon's, scored that goal against Liverpool. His running and his power and his ability to close down as well is really, really important to us. But you do want Murphy. You do want Murphy's right foot, essentially. Maybe he starts with Gordon through the center like he did previously, but not when you got Wissa. That's going to be mad, actually. Just saying that out loud is going to be crazy. When you're telling me for the second game running, we're going to have Voldemort and Wissa on the bench together. That's going to be that day. And then you got real problems if we're doing that. So where's Murphy? Here we go. So those type of situations. So this is going to be really, really key. We're going to have to push, and we are going to leave ourselves exposed in that back line. And Mamouche, Haaland, or Semenyo, it's going to be a big, big battle here. Our press has got to be right. We've got to take our chances. Our energy's got to be right. We've got to believe that we can do it. But we've got to act like we believe that we can win this game, that we can turn this tie around. So guys, I'm going to give you my score predictions. Send in your predictions. I don't think I've seen the prediction just yet. So please do send in your predictions and we'll conclude the show. Have I missed anybody? Send in your predictions. This is going to be more of my heart, a little bit of my head. We'll do the tactical breakdown. We've seen Man City give up a 2-goal lead. We've literally just seen it away to Tottenham. We've seen them give up leads to other teams as well. So it's not impossible. The odds, as my thumbnail says, are definitely against us, right? We don't score much there. The aggregate is poor. We haven't won there in years. All of that in consideration. That's the reality. People talk about reality. I think you can have both reality and you can have both I can only put it as a winning outlook. The reality is mapping out what the reality is, which is, hey, we don't win there. City are incredible team with incredible manager. Look what happened at Anfield. Yes. But if we act like we believe we can win, which is we've got a physical team, lots of legs, lots of power, and we've beaten City before. I know it was at home. We are you aren't always going to be what's the word I'm looking for? When you're even when we're, you know, if you have a winning, you can be realistic and you can have a winning attitude. So realistic is mapping out all the problems or all the odds that are stacked against you. But if you act like you believe as well, is to say, hey, we've beaten City before. We've got the energy in the midfield. We need more movement up front. If we score the first goal, especially in that first 10, 15 minutes, we can shift the atmosphere in that stadium. They've just lost a 2-goal lead against Tottenham, and we can make this tie a lot more nervous than they would like it to be. We've got players in the bench as well that can come on. Gordon can come on. Voldemar can come on if they don't start as well, obviously. Osola can come on. A lot more legs as well with him. There's a point where I wouldn't even mind him starting as well. So there's possibilities there. We are the defending League Cup champions. So there is that to our names as well. So I'm sure we can go out there with pride. So good to see already people giving their, for all my usual optimism, Adrian says, I can't see us win. 2-2. Fair play to you, Adrian. So at least we'll go out on our shield of that prediction. So I'm going to give you guys my prediction in a moment. Let me just read this comment. Lominous. God bless you, Lominous. Good to see you. Watched you on Football Terrace, bro. When are you going to criticize this manager, bro? You ain't got to be. You ain't got to be always saying positive things about him. I don't know what Howe is building anymore. And I think you follow up on that, Luminous. You say his tactics are long ball Sam Allardyce with no risk taking. But just to say against Liverpool actually had more long balls than us. No risk taken, always thinking defensively. We had more. If you was here earlier, Luminous, you would have seen me read the stats. But we had more penalty box entries. We had more crosses than Liverpool. Now that's not me saying that we dominated Liverpool, but this whole thing about how being defensive is incorrect. I think. What the problem has been our the movement of our forwards. Instead of thinking how to get the opposition, are we low block counter? We don't do low blocks. Or high pressing team. What are we, bro? We are those things. We did press. We did counter. We had more penalty box entries, according to our analysts, than Liverpool did. We had more crosses than Liverpool did. The problem is we had less shots on target. We had less shots overall. The problem is the lack of movement of our forward line. We had less long balls than Liverpool as well. Liverpool were more directed than us, especially in the second half. So this low block, we're just hit and hope FC is incorrect in my opinion, if we're looking at the Liverpool match itself. Not having Isak is a second, third best striker in the world changed a lot for our team. Voldemar has to learn how to move better in that box, make more front push. I did a show, and there'll be people on the channel, maybe Adrian was here, where I talked about how Cavani moved in the box, his double movements, his front post running. And I broke down Voldemar against Wolves, for instance, and his lack of running, especially in the front post. Wissa is meant to be good at that, but his fitness is not up to scratch. That's why he didn't play against Liverpool. So that needs to improve. So for me, it's not me necessarily being positive about how, and I think conversations get divided and get very binary when we say this person's positive, this person's negative. rather than just, I think it just gets, because then whenever you or I say anything, rather than, saying whether, being able to speak as objectively as we can, if something sounds negative, you say this one's negative. Something sounds positive, this one's just positive, and we dismiss if what they're saying is true, or if there's is there some facts behind it. So for me, it isn't me necessarily, and I would never be positive on Howe or any manager at the expense of my club. For me, priority is Newcastle United, and the best thing for Newcastle United at this moment in time, I believe that Eddie Howe is the best manager for Newcastle United. I think we're being let down by the lack of movement in the box by our forwards. You can go on Opta Analyst or maybe SofaScore, but look on Opta Analyst. We had 26 crosses into the box. We had 37 entries into Liverpool's penalty box, and we had less possession with that. So with all those chances, with all those opportunities in Liverpool's box, and all those crosses Liverpool's box, how have we only got 2 shots on target? How is it? And you didn't see this, but we saw the passing map for Liverpool. Ekitike got 2 goals. Wirtz got a goal and assist. I think one of those assists was to Ekitike. In the whole match, they had 7 passes between them, yet they get goals and assists. It's movement, it's quality from their forward line. And it's not what our forwards are showing, despite us having good build-up play, getting into the opposition's box, getting crosses off. There's a problem with our forward line. And Eddie Howe can only, what's the phrase? You can bring a horse to the well, bring a camel to the well or whatever, but you can't force them to drink. We're getting the team in positions where they're getting crosses, where they're entering the penalty box, but we can't force the rest is up to the forwards to make movements, front post, back post, space for the cutback. That's up to them. You saw Wirtz's goal, space for the cutback, hanging back. Ekitike's movement when Wirtz got the ball over to him, movement, final ball movement. When's the last time you've seen Whistle Voldemar doing that for us? You saw Gordon doing that for the goal, and just before that, for instance, but you haven't seen our, and I wouldn't be surprised if Howe starts Gordon again, actually, in the front area. So it's not that I'm defending Howe. I'm just trying my best to kind of look at the game objectively, and it is my opinion that in general, our play is fine, especially from our kind of build-up play is fine. It's what happens in that penalty box with our forwards that's the problem, in my opinion. So there you have it. All right, so let me give you a prediction. I'm hoping that we do remedy our penalty box movement and we do get shots on target. And we do take not only shots on target, but we take our chances. I'm hoping that we can do the impossible and make it possible. I believe that we can win this game 3-1. I think we can take it into penalties, and I think we can win it on penalties. No, that would mean that we'd lose. No, it'll be 3-3 on aggregate. If we win 3-1, it'll be 3-3 on aggregate. It'll be 3-3 on aggregate. I hope I got that right. Yeah, 3-3 on aggregate. And then we take it to penalties, and I believe that we can win it on penalties. So let me know what you guys think of that. Final chat here from James. Just 2 things he missed. Trafford will be in goal. Yes. That's a very good call. Now, Trafford's good with very, very good at the ball, but he's not as good a shot stopper as Donnarumma. And Cherky is now doubtful from what I understand from Pep's interview. Okay, so instead of Cherky, probably be Foden, right? Hopefully, an out-of-form Foden. So I think we're going to create chances, guys. That's That's the easiest prediction I can make, that we'll make chances. We'll make big chances, guys. We will. I predict that we'll probably have more crosses in the box that will have equal to, either on par or even more, entries into City's box. We will have that. What happens after that is now me speaking out of hope, which is we have movement, we have big chances, and we convert those big chances. And that's the hope. That's where I'm speaking out of hope, because I haven't seen a track record of that. God bless you, something exorcism. As long as City or Newcastle stop Arsenal from winning any cups this season, I don't care who wins. Fair play to you. Let me know who you support. So that's my prediction, guys. Appreciate for those that have sent their predictions. Adrian says 2-2. I've gone for a 3-1 open play victory, and I've gone for us to win it on penalties. I want to thank you guys. Have been absolutely phenomenal. All the folks that have been in the chat, sending in your lineups, sending in your predictions, adding in your comments. We talked about Jamal Lascelles leaving to go to Leicester after 12 years at Newcastle. Big up to him, and God bless him for his incredible serve. So Foden is struggling. Yeah, let's hope that continues, Phil. James, let's hope that continues. Thanks, Jamal Lascelles, for his. I mean, it's a James Lascelles. Jamal Lascelles for his contribution to the club. We gave a reaction to the Liverpool game. Like I said, you know, the metrics, some of the metrics on attacking outputs, crosses, final third entries, we've talked about it already. We need the strikers to step. They didn't step up like the Liverpool ones did, and that was the big problem for us, in my opinion. Thank you, Adrian. And we did the tactical breakdown for the City game. I have no doubt, guys. I believe that we're gonna act like we believe we can win. I think we'll press the life out of them. I think we'll be in their penalty box. I think we'll get crosses in there. I think we will aim to create chances. All that happens then is converting that chance, getting that first goal, getting that second goal, getting that third goal. But that first goal especially is going to be absolutely literal. It's taking our chance, believing that we can score, believing that we can be lethal, and putting doubts in City's mind. So that's my thoughts on it, guys. As always, thank you. Make sure you look after each other. And as always, folks, God bless you all.